Hey, Tariq, we've got the NFL talking about expanding playoffs under the guise, I think, of a COVID experiment to 16 teams. What do you think?
I don't like it. I don't like any part of it because I understand you want to get more teams into the playoffs. Listen, Major League Baseball was doing this. A lot of other sports teams want to do this. They were experimenting with COVID. I get all that. But the problem here is that you eventually have a possible 8-team taking on a 1-team. So if an 8-team gets an exposure and then exposes a 1-team, that'll affect the playoffs going forward. I don't want that. I want a week off. I like to buy. The players have gone through a 16-game season. Give them their week off, maybe an extra week. Move the Super Bowl back. It's just a smarter move now because you have no idea what's going to happen with COVID.
There's a huge difference between what the NFL would be doing here and what Major League Baseball, the NHL, and the NBA did. Sure, you had teams in that didn't deserve it, but those teams that had earned, higher seeds had 3 games to decide who was better, right? In the NFL, anything can happen in any game. Look what happened with the Titans and the Bengals over the weekend. I mean, what kind of playoffs would you have if one of the 8 seeds beats one of the 1 seeds and everything that team had worked for all season long is gone because the NFL didn't have their crap together, even though they saw this coming a mile away, 10 months ago?
I don't know what you're going to do when you get to the end of the season. I don't see them canceling any games. I do see them moving games to try to get everybody in percentage-wise, like you mentioned a couple of weeks ago, Duffy, to make sure that everybody knows where they are when it comes to the NFL draft. A lot of teams are tanking anyway, so it's almost as if, for example, if you're the Jets, do you really want to play the last 3 weeks of your season? Or do you, with the chance of getting COVID? I don't think you're giving your fans any hope. I think you want the number 1 pick overall, and you don't want to get anybody else who could be going to the playoffs a chance to win.
Pat, do you think this is a side door effort to expand the playoffs, or is the COVID out legitimate here?
I mean, we've seen other leagues experiment with things that were talked about for years under the guise of COVID, so I guess it's not out of the question. I think the NFL would be hurting themselves, though, by adding another team. Like the NFL, I think above all other leagues, had the perfect amount of teams that were in the playoffs. And this is as a Bills fan that didn't see the playoffs for 2 decades, for goodness sake. Like, I would leave it the way that it is. I think even the 7 teams with the single bye is going to be a little bit rough to deal with, but 8's just too many, man.